Hello, it's me, Mike, with HPDS again. I'm going to do a Genesis 8 study today, or this time around. So I'll go ahead and start with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who is in heaven, hallowed be thy name. May your kingdom come, may your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Please give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our debt, as we forgive those in debt to us. And Lord, lead us not into temptation, but rather deliver us from the evil one. For yours is the kingdom of power, Lord, and glory forever and ever, and glory forever and ever. Amen. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get into Genesis 8. So I'll go ahead and read that right now. Let me just pull it up. All right, and God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained, and the waters returned from off the earth continually. And after the end of the earth and 50 days, the waters were abated. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, were the tops of the mountains seen. And it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. And he sent forth the raven, which went forth to and fro until the waters were dried up from off the earth. Also he sent forth a dove from him, to see if the waters were abated from off the face of the ground. But the dove found no rest for the sole of her foot, and she returned unto him into the ark, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. Then he put forth his hand, and took her, and pulled her unto him into the ark. And he stayed yet other 7 days, and again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. And the dove came into him in the evening, and lo, in her mouth was an olive leaf plucked off. So Noah knew that the waters were abated from off the earth. And he stayed yet another 7 days, and went and sent forth the dove, which returned not again unto him any more. And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the month, the waters were dried up from off the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. And in the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, was the earth dry. And God spake unto Noah, saying, Go forth to the ark, thou and thy wife, and thy sons wives with thee. Bring forth with thee every living thing that is with thee, of all flesh, both of fowl and of cattle, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful, and multiply upon the earth. And Noah went forth, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him. Every beast, every creeping thing, and every fowl, and whatsoever creepeth upon the earth after their kinds, went forth out of the ark. And Noah builded an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast, and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled a sweet savor. And the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more everything living as I have done. And the earth remaineth, seedtime and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. All right. So that is Genesis 8 in its entirety. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at it again. We'll go into it. I'll read into it. And let me grab my little notebook, dude. There it is. And let me see. What do these little notes tell me? What do these notes tell me? So basically, the waters subside, the ark rests on Ararat, and then Noah leaves the ark, and then Noah builds an altar and offers sacrifices. So that is basically the steps of what's going on here. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. The first few, let me take a look. Okay, so and God remembered Noah. Let's make sure I didn't. Yeah, and God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And God made a wind, so he passes a wind over the earth, and the waters assuaged. I mean, they just went away. But here we go again. The fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. So here you go again, making mention of the fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven. Um, so that's the case right there. There's fountains of the deep and there's windows in the firmament. So again, this goes against what science tells us. Uh, I think they want to tell us that basically at the core of the earth, there's this is a molten magma situation and molten iron or something. So that's what they want to tell us, that it's molten iron down there. Perhaps that's the case because there's a bunch of pressure going on, but basically there's fountains down there of the deep, so there's water that can be pumped in from the bottom of the earth somehow through the oceans. The oceans can be like a swimming pool, I guess you could say. There's like a swimming pool. There's water fountains down there, and there's windows in the firmament, so the firmament can open up. And people want to say, this is, what's it called, these are just phrases. These are, just like it's raining cats and dogs. It's a phrase. It's a turn of phrase or whatever you want to say. But no, this is actual what's going on. Physically, there are fountains in the deep and there are windows in heaven. Physically, in the firmament, the parts of the firmament can open and some sort of water can fall through it. Some sort of something like that can happen. So then, yeah, so right here, the waters return from off the earth continually. So it was the end of 150 days. So it took 150 days, a little under half a year, basically about 5 months. Basically, 5 months is how long it took. And then right here, it says in the seventh month. So when did it start? Let's go back a chapter to find out when did this thing start. And they went in. It gives us a date, doesn't it? I do remember it saying something on by what month it was. And bear the ark. Let's see, two of all flesh, the self same in the 600 in the second month, the 17th day of the month. So I don't know what months they went by, so I'm just gonna go by the months that we know. And the second month will be February. So basically, he was February 17th. He gets in there. And that's when it starts raining. February 17th, he gets out in the seventh month, right? So now we're in Genesis 8 again. Let's go back. Let's see. In the seventh month, 17th. So 5 months later, July. So that'd be July 17th. So from February to the July, he's in the ark and it's raining. Well, the water's there. It took that long. February, and the whole world was basically flooded until July. So that's what we're hearing. And then they fell on the mounts of the Ararat. So he's up there in the mounts of the Ararat. So let's go ahead and find out where are the Ararat mountains. Ararat mountains. Mountains. Make sure I spell that right. Mountains of Ararat. Look, Mount Ararat. So let's go ahead and take a look at the maps and see what we get when we get maps. Google Maps. Ararat Mountains, Mount Ararat. So that's what we're looking at. And there's a mountain. You can kind of see the outline right there. It's a big giant mountain. And what country is this? Armenia. This is Georgia. So I kind of clicked on a weird spot, but I don't know. It's supposed to be Turkey as far as I understand it. But I'm kind of going to have to pull out quite a bit. There it is, Turkey. Turkey's pretty large. I didn't realize how big Turkey looks. Syria's pretty big. Look at tiny Israel down here. So Turkey's really big. How big is it? It's bigger than France. It's like the size of almost France and Spain together. Not quite. Maybe the size of France and United Kingdom. Some of these countries are big. They're bigger than we. And then this is that globe that they love to put. So who knows if it's even the right. Whatever, though. They love to use this globe. But so that's where that was. The Turkey, out in Turkey, Eastern Turkey. See, very Eastern Turkey, right there by Iran, but still very close to where that where the whole Holy Land ends up being in Israel. So that's an interesting place where it goes. That's where how far it floats off, though. That's where it floats, and that's where it gets to. So that means the whole world wasn't just a local flood, but it was the whole world. And let's see, and the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. So the waters were still going down in October. So it looks like on October 1st were the tops of the mountains seen. So in July, obviously the mountain, the boat, the ark comes to a stop and it comes to a rest, and it got caught up on that mountain right there. But it isn't until October could you really see, that the water was going away. So that's how it was. It was a long time, and it came to pass at the end of 40 days. So after that, he's in October. Let's see. So we're now into like November, maybe December or so. If you go 40 days, or in the middle of November. Let's see, sent forth the raven, which went forth to and fro, and the raven goes out. And so what do we got? So now we got, like I said, this is we're moving into the ark rests on Ararat. So I'm basically in Ararat right now. So it's coming to the rest. So right here, he's on the mountains. He sends out a bird, the raven, and the raven's all like, there's still so much water up here. I can't go nowhere. And let's see, right? Until the waters were dried. And so he also sent forth the dove. Let's see. So 9, the dove found no rest. So there's a dove, and we get this dove taking a look out there. Let's see. And he put his hand on, pulled her into the ark. So he stays a week. So he's still kind of that the second week of November, or the third week of November, something like that. And the dove came into him, and look, she's got an olive leaf plucked off. So, and it says in her mouth. So it is making mention that this dove would have been a female. So it's probably, and I don't know if the dove was one of the clean animals or not, but chances are I would imagine it was one of the clean animals, because they do talk about sacrificing the doves and everything. So I imagine the dove is one of the clean ones, and it did say they would have taken 7 of all the fowl anyway. So it would have probably been 1 male and 6 females, and here's one of the females. So let's see, and he stayed another week, and then he sent the dove, and this time the dove didn't even come back. That was just, I said, she's all, whatever, I'm out of here. And so let's see. So the 601st year in the first month, the first day of the month. So now they're into January. The waters were dried up from off the earth. So basically from October till January, water was still being drained out of the earth. So that's a long time. Basically from February to January of the next year, there was basically water all over the earth. And that's when it came to pass. He finally gets out, or removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. And in the second month, on the 7th and 20th day of the month, the 27th, so February 27th, was the earth dried. So it says it was a year and 10 days, basically, is what it took from February to February. So it keeps going. That's how long it was. It took February until February 17th until February 27th of the next year. The earth was completely dry then. Wow. So the face of the ground was dry, but it wasn't the earth. So there's the face of the ground, and then he's calling it the earth dried out. So that means it was probably still muddy right up here on the first of the year. When in January it was still muddy, and it probably wasn't anything. If you tried to dig, it was probably just all muddy. That would be, it's probably all muck and everything. That would have been pretty rough for a whole month of muck, I bet. Wow, that's what probably happened there. It was like a whole bunch of muck. And I don't know if you've ever dealt with muck, when the ground is real mucky and it's real wet and it's real sticky. It's just the worst. I mean, when it's some of that muddy territory, I mean, walking in it in boots and work pants that I've done before in the past, that's bad enough. But Noah and them, I mean, I don't know what kind of stuff they would have been wearing, what kind of boots they may have had, what kind of foot coverings, but that would have been rough. So it would have probably just been mucky that whole January into February. That's crazy. So then we're into verse 15, which is when Noah finally leaves the ark. This is Noah leaving the ark. Let's see, go, and what does God tell him? So God speaks to Noah right there. He says, "Go forth out of the ark, thou, you and your wife, your sons and your sons' wives. Get out of the ark, and then go bring forth with thee every living thing." So go get all the animals, all the fowl, all the cattle, everything. Go get them all out, that they may breed abundantly. And he gives them that command again. Go ahead and be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. This isn't the first time God has told us this. This is, he's telling us again, go be fruitful and multiply. Not have one child and stop. That's what this world teaches us. Have as few children, plan out your children. No, this is God telling, be fruitful and multiply. So Noah went forth, and his sons and his wife and his son's wife. So they go, and every beast and they all go out. They all go out of the ark. So that's up until 19. And then we get into verse 20 until the end of the chapter, 20, 21, 22. Basically, Noah's going to build an altar, and he's going to offer sacrifices. And this is something that the sacrifice where we had Adam, or Cain and Abel. Well, for the first person to make a sacrifice is God. Remember that when Adam and Eve were kicked out of the garden, there was a sacrifice, and that sacrifice was the clothing of skin that was put upon them. So clearly, God made the first sacrifice because of that first sin. So Adam and Eve didn't even know to repay their sin. So God had to do it for them, and he committed the sacrifice for them. And they didn't even, as of yet in Genesis, it hasn't even explained the purpose of the sacrifices. And mind you, this book would have been written by Moses, who by that point, people were already making sacrifices. This is quite a while. Obviously, this is Noah, and it's quite a while before we get to Moses. And these guys Noah was already offering sacrifices. Abraham was offering sacrifices. So the people in Israel that were with Moses, it would have been like, we get it, we offer sacrifices. We get it, we offer sacrifices. But they still hadn't necessarily understood the purpose of offering the sacrifices. And so right here is where it's really putting down that he comes out and he offers sacrifices. Well, you got to remember, Cain offered horrible sacrifices, and then he spilled his brother's blood. So he comes up with a bad sacrifice, a curse. He gives him a curse as a sacrifice. Then he kills his own brother, which is basically a different type of sacrifice. But it's not a proper one, that's for sure. And then we've got Noah coming in here and offering sacrifices. So basically, keep this in mind, that this is another thing. When he offers sacrifice, he burned some of these. He offered burnt. He killed the beasts, and he said, of every clean beast and of every clean fowl. Now, mind you, the unclean animals got a pass. Notice that the unclean animals are getting a pass. None of the unclean animals are getting offered as sacrifice. It's the clean animals. So those animals that he brought in 7 of, well, look at that. He's bringing out immediately, he's offering a sacrifice of all of them. So some of these animals were saved for the purpose of being sacrificed. I mean, they survived the flood. Big whoop. Here they are getting sacrificed. And that's the animals. And this is powerful statements here, because we got, even in this day and age, and I was a vegetarian for a while, for some years, kind of under this concept, or kind of under this belief that, we kill animals left and right like it's no big deal. And animals, they should have rights, and sure, we treat them good. It even tells us in the Bible that we should treat our animals good, and the righteous man looks out for his animals. And it says, there's one of the Psalms, or one of the Proverbs, I think, reads that, what does it say? It says, where there is no ox, the manger is clean, but the fruits of the earth are gathered by the strength of the ox, or something along those lines. And so, I mean, we need these animals. These animals help us. They are our help met, and we are leaders over them. And I mean, people are such horrible leaders of other people that, I mean, they wouldn't know what it means to be a leader of animals too. But this is showing our complete authority over these animals. I mean, humans have complete authority over animals, to the point of killing them. These animals are not allowed to kill humans, but humans can kill animals. And we are told this later, and it is even in the New Testament. Paul is given a dream where he is told to kill and eat. He's told to do these things, and on top of that, that's what's going on. This is God telling us the severity. He's teaching us the severity of the situation that has come upon us because of Adam and Eve. It is severe. It is something serious. We are going to die. And a lot of people don't want to take that serious, and I think a lot of people are in denial of what, that, a lot of people think we basically conquered life, or something, that we conquered existence. Some people rolling around thinking, science has figured everything out, and there is no God, and c'est la vie or something, and we're just all, they've got a weird, messed up, warped mindset of what they are and who they are in this world and what the world is. But anyway, it's severe. There are, this whole concept of dying, and what's going to happen afterwards. When people hear the concept of hell, they don't want to believe in hell. They don't want to believe that people can, what's the purpose? God, righteous. They would say, they argue a good God would not send anybody to hell for one lifetime of bad. And I say, you don't understand what's going on. You have no idea what was going on. You don't get it. We absolutely deserve it if you don't repent. And I tell people, I will tell you that you absolutely deserve hell if you don't repent. And it's hard to understand that, and you don't know what hell is. Hell is just the lake of fires, and if you think you're in a globe spinning across the universe, that's impossible to be, to be in fire. I mean, I get, because of everything's perfect. We're in our perfect little solar system. Our solar system will never, you can't reach other solar systems. They're so far away, but that's not what's going on. What's going on is there's a firmament, and on the other side of that firmament is a flammable material, and it is an ocean of some sort, and it's part of the ecosystem, as some people would call it, and it's explained right there in Genesis. There's a firmament with waters on the other side. Well, if we know our chemistry nowadays, we know that the waters it's talking about, it's probably some sort of oxygen, liquid oxygen, and the liquid oxygen is definitely flammable, and that water is probably, it's probably, never ending. It's probably never ending, is what I'm getting at. So one day it's just going to catch on fire when the time comes, when God comes and he shows his power and he comes as fire. He told us he wouldn't do it we're hearing this story right here. If we come down to the end of this one, And God said in his heart, that's what I'm getting into next, Genesis 21, I will not again curse the ground anymore for man's sake. So there he is, not cursing the ground. He's not going to curse the ground anymore. So that's how you see good little Cain, the line of Cain. They're lucky now because now he's not going to curse the ground for them not being able to farm anymore. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. So he knows that because look at that. Now, if you make things harder on these people, is what he's saying. I cursed them, I made it harder for them. And because I made it harder for them, these guys took it upon themselves to become even more ugly in their hearts. They devised and imagined all kinds of things. And it's true, too. I know I've grown up and people, even at this, when I go do the slave labor stuff, some of those guys were telling me one time, it's a joke. They were laughing hysterically, thinking it was so great. And they were talking about, we found a new way to torture somebody. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, we're going to take this drill and shove it up there there was a big old drill, and it's not a drill that is small. It's got it's for underground drilling. And they were talking about the underground drilling, and and it's they were laughing, thinking it was funny. But that's how fools act. They don't realize that there are people out there much more evil than themselves. Those people are very small time wicked. They're small time wicked people. They're little imps. They're not big giant demons. They're just the little imps. But some of the big demons out there, these crazy people, we've heard of the Inquisition. We've heard of what happened during the Holocaust. There's other situations. The communists did it to Christians. I think there's a whole bunch of times throughout history where people devise nasty thoughts on how to torture somebody else or how to kill somebody. People have been torn in half. People have been hung. Christ was crucified. Jesus was crucified. That's just a nasty way to go. And somebody literally thought of, hey, let's hammer a dude into a cross and hang him up there and laugh at him until he dies. That's what we'll do. That's what we're gonna do, and let's do it. It's absolutely vulgar how these humans, some of these people are out there that do this. It's disgusting. You have to realize that, and this is historical. There's so many cases of child sacrifice during the later years after this as well. We'll come to find. So it was probably the same thing before this. The things that they were sacrificing. If Cain was running around sacrificing and giving up cursed goods, then who knows what his children, what Lamech was doing. If he was trying to give an offering, God was and that's another thing that people don't understand, that these evil people will give offerings and sacrifices, and they're clearly giving them worthless sacrifices and bad things. But anyway, so here it is. God is nonetheless saying, you know what, I'm not going to curse the ground anymore. And neither will I ever smite every living thing again. And he's going to say, he says, neither will I again smite any more living thing as I have done. So he says he's not going to do it again. While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, the summer and winter, the day and night shall not cease. But, it's going to be clarified again, like I said, how we see in chapters 1 and 2. There's more clarifications, chapters 6 and 7, and into 8. We're gonna see in chapter 9 that he's gonna talk about it being of water. He'll never do it of water again. And he's gonna bring forth the what is it called? Here it is, the bow in my cloud. Where is it? And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood. Neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. So that's where God is telling us, he's clarifying it. I'm never going to destroy you guys again with water. You get what I'm saying? But he does tell us later that it'll be with fires. And that's gonna be a little bit interesting because that's gonna have to do with our resurrection bodies. Our resurrection bodies will be able to withstand the fires, and we're gonna be baptized in the fires when those times come. Um, but those that don't accept, I mean, they're not gonna know what's going on, and as far as they understand it, they're just gonna be trapped in a lake of fire with there's gonna be sulfur up in there, and that's all they're gonna ever know for the rest of eternity because they missed out. God is telling us here's what's gonna happen, and when it happens, you need to be ready. And if you're not ready, that's it. You've been waiting your whole lives to be ready. Even the dead should know because us as living, we should apparently we're supposed to be breaking curses of our generational curses. I had a book here somewhere. I don't know what I did. Maybe it's in the other room. But it's a book about breaking curses. And I just kind of started getting into it and started understanding it myself. But clearly, these curses are here. And God is talking about curses right from the get-go. I'm only in chapter 8. And here he is. I will not again curse the ground. He cursed Adam. He cursed Eve. He cursed the snake. He cursed the Cain when the time came. He cursed Cain, and now he's saying, you know what? I'm never going to curse the ground anymore, though. But the curses are nonetheless real, and I wanted to grab. I know I'm looking around but I'm trying to grab this NLT. I'm gonna actually look again. I'm gonna look at 821 in this New Living Translation. Because like I said, I found this NLT, and it's kind of an interesting take. So 821 says, and the Lord was pleased with the aroma of the sacrifice and said to himself, I will never again curse the ground because of the human race, even though everything they think or imagine is bent toward evil from childhood. I will never again destroy all living things. So they use the word curse too. It's the word curse. Let me grab the NIV. Let's see, the NIV. What am I looking at? 821, right? 821. I'm in chapter 821. 821. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, never again will I curse the ground. So they use the word curse. The word curse, there's curses. So curses are something that are severe and they're very real. And we'll see later on that even when it comes to Abram, he says, I will curse those who curse you, and I will bless those who bless you. So it's going to be, it's we're going to get into this understanding of how curses work. Because curses, I mean, it's more than just saying like the F word. And, curses are saying, it's what your words are powerful. As humans, we don't understand how powerful our words are. And it's a sad thing that we don't, because our words are extraordinarily powerful. Our words are the basis of our actions, and what comes out of our heart is what comes out in the form of words. And it's out of good things. So it's either good words coming out of your heart or it's bad words coming out. So you're either blessing people or you're cursing people. And this is at all times, 24/7. We're either blessing or we're cursing people. And we're supposed to bless people. And we're supposed to bless Christians, because if just like the seed of Abraham, it says, he's going to curse those who curse Abraham's seed and bless those who blesses them. And we share as Christians, as followers of Christ, we share in that inheritance. So it's put on me too. If you bless me, you become blessed. But if you curse me, you become cursed. So that's what's going to end up happening. That's what we'll see about those curses. But curses are right away, by the end of Genesis 8, I mean, curses have been pretty hefty. I mean, like I said, there's curse on the snake. He's going to have that head. He's going to get his head bruised. The man's going to get his heel bruised, I guess. We got the ground was cursed, so it wasn't even providing crops for these people, and that led to all kinds of disasters and evil thoughts. And people went around, like I said, you better believe they were attacking each other's cities. You better believe they were warring with each other to go get those crops. That's why, that's why historically we know that we've had raiders throughout history, people that raid towns and villages, and the Vikings were great raiders, and we know about them. And it was because, for whatever reason, that's just how they lived. They would go and steal supplies when they needed to steal supplies. And chances are, we may not know it, but they were probably cursed. The ground was, cursed for them for a long time, at least historically until the flood. But that's not to say that curse went away for that line of Cain. It just says that he wouldn't curse the ground anymore for man's sake. So he's like basically saying, that curse is still there. Somebody's got, I don't know if it ever got broken, and like I said, I've got a book about breaking curses, and I'm still not entirely sure, but it definitely does seem like that curse has not been broken because of how the world still is acting. But that means there would be people somewhere that when they try to grow crops, the dirt does not yield its strength. So when you would notice them, because wherever they went, the ground would become weak, and things wouldn't grow. Things probably die. But that's assuming that curse is still around on people that may still have it. But as far as we know, they all died. They're all dead here at the ark, here at the flood. They all died, unless of course they are interpreted as these kind of other weird light creatures that are able to inhabit bodies. That the host, that we would call the host. And so of course that's what God was saying. Only He's allowed to inhabit bodies. All these other people should be dead. All these other line of Cain should be dead. So the fact that they do come back later on, when we get into chapters, in fact, 9 and 10, I believe, we see the giants again. So clearly these line of Cain people probably come back, which is, again, something that they're not supposed to be doing. You get what I'm saying? It looks like they're only allowed to fish. They can go be living in the deep in the fish. These line of Cain can go. They could have stayed in the fish. They weren't allowed to be up on the land, and the animals with the beasts. They weren't allowed to be with the birds or the humans. They were only allowed the animals of the deep. The great whales and so forth. But we will see them coming back later, making humans giants again. So they probably are. That's more of that spiritual war going on that people don't even know or see. But clearly they were probably allowed to stay alive, but only to inhabit the fish. But we see later on, and we still see to this day, demon possessions. And these demon possessions would be from these line of Cain people, that are some sort of different race of humans of some sort. They got a different type of body, but they're awesome men. They're considered men in God's eyes. Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and end this one. This was Genesis 8. I'm going to go ahead and do what the goodbye. I'd say, God bless anybody who may be watching this. And I pray that we all bless Jesus Christ, and may Jesus Christ bless all of us. Amen.